Good morning, students. Today we will continue with our chapter number 7, the circulatory system. Today we will study about the blood vessels. The blood vessels are the transport network of our body. In general sense, it can be defined as a hollow tube that carries blood around the body. In human body, these work as a system of channels through which the blood can flow. The system comprises three types of blood vessels, namely arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries are the blood vessels which carry the blood away from the heart to various parts of the body. All the arteries except the pulmonary artery carries the oxygenated blood. The pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from heart to the lungs. The wall of arteries are made up of three layers. The outermost layer is called tunica externa. It consists of elastic tissues. The middle layer is called the tunica media. It is made up of muscles. And the inner layer is called tunica interna. It is made up of single layered endothelium. Each time the heart beats, the elastic walls of the arteries expand for the blood to flow into them. Then the muscular tissues slowly contract again. This squeezes the blood flow further along the length of the arteries and towards the capillaries. Arteries have a narrow lumen. The major arteries diverge into minor arteries and then into smaller vessels called arterioles. The arteries are deeply situated in the body. Arteries do not possess any valve because the blood flows in them in unidirectional, that is, from the heart towards the body parts. Veins are the blood vessels that carry the deoxygenated blood from the various parts of the body towards the heart. Only the pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. The veins begin at the capillaries. At first they are very tiny and are called the venules. So, small veins join together to form the larger ones. The wall of the vein also has three layers as an artery, but they are thinner, less muscular and less elastic as compared to the arterial wall. The lumen of veins is much wider than that of arteries. This helps to keep the blood moving easily through the veins. At regular intervals, veins have pocket-shaped semilunar valves that open towards the heart to stop the blood flowing in the backward direction. The semilunar valves are made up of the folds of the inner walls of the veins. The forward pressure of blood forces the valves to open, as a result of which the blood flows towards the heart. The backflow of the blood causes the valve to close. The differences between the arteries and veins. Arteries are located deep beneath the skin. Veins are located close to the skin. Arteries carry the oxygenated blood from the heart to various parts of the body except pulmonary artery. Veins bring the deoxygenated blood from various body parts to the heart except the pulmonary vein. The arteries have three-layered thick muscular wall. The veins have thin, less elastic and less muscular wall. Arteries have a narrow lumen in which the blood flows with a high speed and under a high pressure. The veins have a wide lumen in which the blood flows with low speed and low pressure. Arteries do not have any valve. Veins have valves which control the unidirectional flow of blood. You can see the structure, the thick muscular wall of the arteries and a narrow lumen, and the thin muscular wall of veins and large lumen. The human heart is a muscular organ which is somewhat conical in shape. It is located between the two lungs in the thoracic cavity. An adult human heart is about 12 cm in length and 9 cm in breadth. It is equal to the size of our fist. The average weight of the heart is about 350 grams in males and 300 grams in females. It is enclosed externally by a membrane called epicardium. Internally, the heart is surrounded by the pericardium. The space between the two membranes is called pericardial cavity, which is filled with pericardial fluid secreted by the wall of pericardium. The pericardial fluid protects the heart from the mechanical and physical shocks. It also helps in the frictionless movement of the heart. The human heart is a four-chambered organ divided by the septa, singular septum, into two equal halves, the right half and the left half, left and right. Each half is further divided into two chambers, the upper small size chambers called auricle or atrium, and the lower large-sized chambers called ventricles. The auricles act as the receiving chambers for blood coming from outside of the heart. They are further divided into the right atrium and the left atrium. The right atrium receives the blood from the large veins, namely superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. The left atrium receives the blood from the lungs through the pulmonary vein. That is why the pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood. Both the atria are smaller than the ventricles and have thinner, less muscular walls. The valves of the human heart are thin membranous structures attached to the wall of the heart. There are four types of valves present in the heart that control the flow of blood within the heart. Bicuspid or mitral valve is located between the left auricle and the left ventricle. It consists of two cusps or two flaps. Hence, it is called a bicuspid valve. The tricuspid valve is located between the right auricle and the right ventricle. It has three cusps or three flaps. The tricuspid valve guards the auriculoventricular aperture. The pulmonary valve is located between the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery. It checks the return of blood into the ventricle. That means the blood does not come back into the ventricle. Aortic valve is located between the left ventricle and the aorta. The septum of the heart is dividing muscular wall between the right and the left side of the heart. The septum that separates the two upper chambers, the right and left atria of the heart, is termed as interauricular septum, while the portion of the septum that lies between the two lower chambers, the right and left ventricles of the heart, is called interventricular septum. The great vessels is the term used to refer collectively the large vessels that bring the blood to the heart and take the blood away from the heart. These include the superior vena cava. It is the great venous trunk that returns the deoxygenated blood from the systemic circulation of upper body, that is head and arms, to the right atrium of the heart. The inferior vena cava, it is the trunk that returns the deoxygenated blood from the systemic circulation of the lower body, trunk and legs to the right atrium of the heart. The pulmonary artery that carries the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Pulmonary vein, which brings the oxygenated blood from the lungs and drain into the left atrium of the heart. The systemic aorta is the largest artery originating from the left ventricle. It receives the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle and distributes it throughout the body. Coronary arteries. The first arteries that branch from the aorta are the two major coronary arteries, the left coronary artery and the right coronary artery. They supply oxygenated blood to the heart and so enable it to continue pumping. These two arteries divide into many branches as they cover the heart.